Well, any advice for, young fleet managers starting out? They're looking up this mountain. You've been there, you've seen fleets. You came in, you kind of knew what to do. How do they know what to do?
One thing I always tell, take your time, take your time to investigate and look at all the data, and talk to your stakeholders and find out where exactly you are, kind of get a lay of the land, so to speak. Because I think a lot of people want to make improvements very fast and very quick, and they don't really understand exactly what needs to be improved first.
Right.
I always tell people it takes, if you've got a really defunct fleet, it takes about 3 to 5 years to get that up to top notch.
Well, just a replacement cycle alone.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so don't get discouraged if things aren't happening fast. One of the things that I learned early on in my career is doing weekly reports. The reason I do that was never for the stakeholders. It was always for me.
Okay.
Selfish endeavor for me. And the reason I did that is because I could see incremental improvements. Now, one of the things I've talked about this before, maybe I talked about it on the podcast, but one thing I remember from my master's program is the Ziegler-Necht effect. Look that up on Wikipedia.
All right.
What that was is they did a study on New York servers, and these servers were giving out food in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have a table of 15 to 20 people that ordered food. And if you asked the server what Josh had or Joe had on the end of the table, they could tell you verbatim what that guy had ordered until they dropped the food off. And then their mind forgot it because they accomplished the task.
Yeah.
That's the Ziegler-Necht effect. That's what we do as individuals. Sometimes we'll get bogged down like, man, I'm not accomplishing squat. But if you keep a weekly report, you can figure out what you did, what you need to do, and I had 3 simple things in my report: what I accomplished, what I need to accomplish, and who's in my way. That's it. Those are my 3 top sub bullets.
Yeah.
And so every week I'd say, okay, I accomplished this. Next week I've got to accomplish this list. And to accomplish this list, this guy might be in my way, which I call that clear the path.
Yeah.
It's an old Covey thing.
Yeah.
And so I would, then I'd have to go talk to that stakeholder or that fleet person or whoever was involved, or that parts person or whoever it was.
Right.
And
get that resolved and
exactly.
move out the way.
The other thing too is we had a vendor, very common vendor, that did our parts, and parts availability was a huge problem.
Yeah.
So I tracked their availability, and I tracked all the vehicles down for maintenance, down for parts, and I made them compete with each other because the parts people didn't want to have more down for parts than the maintenance people had down for maintenance, and so there was a couple other things we did as well.
Yeah. Well, and I like too, you mentioned, it's just this A, then B, then C. And I think sometimes we get like, oh, well, I got to get my availability from 80 to 95%. And we forget that that's like A to Z. And there's 26 other steps that you got to take in between there to get there.
Yep.
It's just small incremental improvements every day. And so I like that you were, reporting to yourself weekly to kind of just see what was going on.